Alrighty, a very, very happy Friday, and welcome to another episode of the TNC Sports Talk. My name is Justin. Today is February 13th of 2026, and I hope everyone has themselves a fun weekend ahead of them. I know my oldest has a basketball game going on this weekend, tomorrow morning to be precise. I know I'm headed out to the Saint to the Mount Washington Public Library. They are reopening, and I'm going to be representing Enlightened Studios. I'm excited for that. Then I'll be headed over to the Price Hill. Got some work to be done over there. But overall, there's really not a lot going on. As a matter of fact, college baseball just getting underway, and going to try to watch some college baseball this weekend. I have not gotten into college baseball. It wasn't until I think it was 2, if not 3 years ago, right after I moved out here. It was right after the pandemic, and college baseball was just right down the street. It's like, all right, let's go see what the Bearcats is all about. So me and my wife went out there, and it's very cold, by the way, in February and March, and well, we had ourselves a really good time. Tickets were really inexpensive. I think it was like $5 a person. Parking was like $5, and you're right there on the field, and you just get to be a part of it. And that's one thing that's great about college sports is a lot of your access is very up and close. Compared to a Major League Baseball game where your tickets are kind of more up so in the nosebleed seats. Tickets and the seating arrangements are right there from concourse down. And a lot of that kind of resembles back to minor league baseball and independent baseball. The Florence Y'alls don't have a large stadium either. And, it just makes it fun. It gets you down and close, interactive with the team, with the, everyone who participates and works there, and sometimes it's good to unwind and watch a same sport, but for a different team that is not in the same league as the Cincinnati Reds. So, anyways, if what I'm trying to say is give college baseball a try out here. We have Xavier Musketeers, we have the Cincinnati Bearcats, we have we have Northern Kentucky NKU, we have Thomas More. And we have a lot of programs out there that you could choose from. So whether you're up in Cincinnati or down in Kentucky, college baseball, it's one of the sports in college that really should be getting more recognition. They don't at all throughout the season, or they rarely. They get more recognized towards the playoff times. Same thing as softball as well. But as we wait for Reds to begin the season, where they're back at Great America Ballpark, we have a lot of baseball that goes on here in the tri-state area. So maybe between now and the beginning of April, this will be a great time to check out some of the community and what they have to offer in the sport. But I really hate how this show is, is programmed. I'm going to vent for about 2 to 3 minutes. So let me vent, and then we'll get right into the conversations. But, it kind of works in mysterious ways because, I did an episode yesterday. I got ready and I posted my episode so it could drop at 7 o'clock. And as soon as I released the episode, it was breaking news. Nick Castellanos has been released by the Philadelphia Phillies. And it's one of those things that it sucks because we are anticipating some conversations. I made some posts about it, and I kind of reference back down to the Reds, and I asked the question, what does Reds fans think? And should the Reds organization consider Nick Castellanos and reuniting with with them? And I want to be fair that I was not educated on the ins and outs of what's happened in Philadelphia. All I was really going off of, and it's been an off-season conversation, was that Nick Castellanos and Philadelphia Phillies were at a bypass with his contract. And there was an understanding that the Phillies were interested in trading, and it came to the point where they didn't even invite him to spring training. Matter of fact, they told him to stay home. And it was reported yesterday that the Phillies released Nick Castellanos from their organization, and he is now a free agent. The Phillies are obligated in signing, in at least paying him $20 million this season, minus the league minimum of $780,000 if a team, an organization, can pick him up. So, Nick Castellanos is a free agent. Now, when I was starting to get into Reds baseball a few years back, moved out here, started tangling myself along with the team, I did not see much of an issue with Nick Castellanos. To me, he was a name he was a top name with the organization that I expected to be out there every day. And it was one of my head-scratching moments when I learned that he was being dealt off. He wasn't coming back to Cincinnati. And so I, at least at the time, despite his performance, I liked Nick Castellanos. And so I asked the question yesterday on social media, why would we not at least consider bringing Nick Castellanos back? I think that he provides a threat to a lineup. And I still think he has some good baseball left in him. Now, given last year wasn't, as a matter of fact, probably one of his worst years of his career. But the Reds are lacking star power hitters. That's what I'm trying to point out. They are lacking power hitters in this lineup. And they're they just picked up Suarez, but I feel like Suarez is one of the lone person. And I feel like, to be honest, we're putting a lot of pressure on Eugenio Suarez to perform and to be this player that we expect him to be. And as we expect him to be this top player that is going to lead the Reds, possibly lead the league in home runs, in RBIs, in advancing runners, and all of those categories. I don't know about you, but that is a lot of pressure. Doesn't matter what organization you're on. It doesn't matter how good you are. That's a lot of pressure. We're asking him to come over and have the same performance that he did with Arizona and Seattle. Now, Suarez isn't the only guy to be a power hitter on this team. I recognize that. So, Dela Cruz can, Stevenson can, Spencer Steer, Sal Stewart has a lot yet to prove as a player. He's a rookie coming into this season. But the one thing I will point out is that these players have a power at bat, has solid contact. They come in spurts. And so what we're honestly also relying on is not only a consistent Suarez throughout the year, which we're giving him the spotlight. You're going to be the DH. You don't have to play defense. And, we already have a third baseman. We have plenty of guys to try out for first base. And we have a lot of depth in the outfield. And we're hoping that with Suarez focusing on the DH role, that he just is consistent and we let him work at his craft. And and we're also hoping that the other guys that give you spurts of the moment success comes in pairs or bunches at a time. And so that when Cruz and McLean are on this hot streak, it will make up for when Steer and Stewart, for example, are not batting so well. And then, every couple weeks, we shift gears to another player. That is what is going to define this team offensively. So when I threw in the idea that Nick Castellanos would fit in this lineup, I still think he brings some power to the plate. He hit 17 home runs last year. No, it's not 49, but 17. Yeah, he's up there in age, mid 30s. And no, let's give him granted that the only concern that we're really going to have issues with is his defensive performance. Because that really took a back burner. The Phillies changed his role, put him as a DH, and that's when things started to spiral. Maybe the spotlight was kind of being taken off of Castellanos. I don't know what the deal is. You had that moment in Miami last summer. It really hurt him, and it just seems like maybe Nick Castellanos and the relationship with the Phillies are just at a bypass where you cannot fix it. And so the Phillies did what they felt was best for business, and that was to release him and say, look, maybe it's just a change of scenery, no hard feelings. We're going to eat up $20 million of your contract, and you have the option and the freedom to go play for a different team. And so maybe, just maybe, this is an opportunity for Castellanos to turn things around. At the best version of Nick Castellanos, does he fit? It's not about if he fits with the Reds organization. Compare all of our outfielders right now. And if you throw in Nick Castellanos, who could, on his best year, it wasn't last year. It wasn't, was it the year before, I don't know. But when you line Nick Castellanos' best year up with the Reds' current outfield position, is he a better player than what we already have? Now, to me, when I think of a guy like Nick Castellanos in a lineup, when you throw in Suarez and Cruz and Stewart and Steer and Benson, I'm telling myself that becomes a strategy for the defense, for the pitching, because now they're going to have to pick and choose who they are going to pitch around and pitch to. I feel like when you throw in the combination of the 3, 4, 5 slots, that if you have Nick Castellanos in there with the Suarez, with a Steer or a Stewart, you're asking for somebody to get on base. You're asking for them to be, hit in, scored. I think of a dangerous team. But apparently, I guess, this is not the vision that the Reds have. And apparently, this is I just want to pull this up. Apparently, for me, this is, I guess, a vision that they don't see fit. And so maybe I'm jumping the gun. Okay. This is what Nick Kroll speaks about Nick Castellanos. He said yesterday that I haven't met with our guys. This is Nick Kroll speaking. And he doesn't know if we have a great fit for him with the guys we have. Now, I can only refer this possibly back to the statement that was made after the release yesterday, as Nick Castellanos kind of written out a statement and it kind of admitted how he brought a beer into the dugout after being removed or scratched from the lineup in a game last year. Obviously, there are ways that you don't want to carry yourself, and Nick Castellanos has experienced those ways. It forced the Phillies to kind of remove him the back end of the year, not use him as much, and this is one of many decisions on why the Phillies decided it was best to release him. I don't know if he fits with this organization. The outfield is stacked. We are not going to be able to put him as a DH on a daily basis. I feel like we've already filled in that position with Suarez, and I'm comfortable with that. I'd prefer Suarez to be the DH. We have a third baseman, and to ask Suarez to make a change over to third would be very difficult. Now, Nick Castellanos brings a right-handed power hitting objective to the lineup and to the outfield, and I would reminisce not to say that we still need someone like that in the outfield. Well, Will Benson is a lefty, and I think he'll fit great. You have Marte, who we have high hopes for. Maybe defensively, compared to what we saw last year, they are better athletes than what Nick brings. But this is where I guess I struggle at coming to the agreement. Now, look, if Nick Castellanos signs with a different team, am I going to cry over it? No, not really. I don't. I don't have that much hopes and dreams to bring him back someone. It's an integrity thing for me, right? If you're going to compose yourself the way you do on, with the Phillies, that takes notice. And I do have to be cautious when selecting players like Nick Castellanos. For one, not just maybe I could forgive a poor year last year, but when you start butting heads with the general manager, the Reds have no room for Nick Castellanos to do any of that with Terry Francona. And Terry Francona, just like many other managers, are not going to tolerate it. So I really, honestly, I can understand why it is easy to bypass on Nick. But there should at least be a discussion, right? At least in my opinion. You look at the reasons why it doesn't fit, and I can see it. We have a young group of guys. They all work together. The chemistry is there. And, Nick Kroll has built this team this offseason based off of young, cheap, talented players, picking up Suarez to really help just a little bit. But it really doesn't fit, right? He's going to be an outfielder. He's going to have to play the field. We already have, that means, it honestly means that if we pick up Nick Castellanos, someone's going to have to be released. And so do you release Dane Myers, who could honestly we may be able to use in depth, or do we, what do we do? And so I do understand why it wouldn't be a fit. But, and I guess I'm saying that it is going to be a little bit of a missed opportunity if but you turns around. But, at the end of the day, I really would not want Nick Castellanos, if this is a turning point, if this is a point where he just needs a new look, a fresh start, right? A new environment. If, let's say, one of the teams from the NL Central, the Cubs, Pittsburgh, immediately were tied along to possible candidates for Nick Castellanos. If we see him in the division and he has a bounce back year, it's going to, I think, it's going to hurt us. I'm not going to like it. I'm not going to appreciate it. So it's one of those risk factors that right now, today, we tell ourselves that it's not worth it. Time will prove us wrong or right if it is worth it. But I've asked the question yesterday. I'll continue to ask the question until Nick ends up signing with another organization or whatever the case is. Could we consider bringing him in? Listen, he's only a league minimum. Could we bring him in as a spring training? Can we at least invite him in, see what he is capable of doing, and making that change for $780,000 for league minimum for a player that has potential? He doesn't care what team he's playing on. He's going to get paid $20 million either way. It's not like we're taking a $10, $15, $20 million hit on a player that we are uncertain about. I don't know, just different point of views, in my opinion, that can make or break this deal. I wanted to also mention that the Reds have also signed a first base / DH hitter, Nathanial Lowe, to a minor league deal with a spring training invite. This report is coming from Mark Sheldon. So far, his career has been batting .264 with a .771 OPS. He was a 2022 AL Silver Slugger at first base, and he's proven left-handed presence in the lineup. Low risk move, but a potential big upside. And this I think this comes from learning that Christian Encarnacion Strand is dealing with a little bit of injuries and banged up a little bit through, I want to say, the Winter League? Not the Winter League, but he's been playing baseball, and he's kind of got banged up. So his status is expected to miss a couple of games early on in spring training, and who knows? Maybe Nathaniel Lowe is somebody that we can add for insurance. Right? We need batters. We need right-handed batters to hit against lefties. And he is someone, maybe he's a better option than Nick Castellanos. But that was the big news coming from tomorrow. I hated it because as soon as I got done recording this episode, yesterday's episode, the news broke. And it was like, it was too late to go back in and try to have any other conversations. So I was definitely upset with the deal. Well, that wasn't the only big conversation coming out of Cincinnati. Yesterday, it was reported and made official that Major League Baseball's owners approved the transfer of control of the Cincinnati Reds to team president and chief executive officer Phil Castellini, the son of Bob Castellini, who bought this team back in 2006. Phil was named as president and CEO on August 1st, 2024, as part of a succession plan. The 84-year-old Bob Castellini appeared at Redfest last month in Cincinnati and is expected to come to Goodyear to visit the team this month, on opening day in 2022. After the trade of several popular players, including Suarez, Phil was asked about fan frustration during a radio interview, and he was asked for patience. When asked why fans should be patient, he famously responded, "Well, what are you going to do?" And, look, we're going to look back on this. You could already say now, but whether you like the Castellinis or not, they own the Cincinnati Reds. And until we don't see a Castellini no longer part of the Reds organization, then things are going to be done the same way. I don't see much change happening when it comes down to ownership pass on. Bill is 84 years old, or Bob, right? Let me at least get the names right here. Bob is at least, 84 years old. Maybe the right time to make the changes now and passing it on to his son. But, I think I've seen some positives out of this deal yesterday. But then Nick Kroll was definitely asked about, uh, let me see where this is at. President of Baseball Operations Nick Kroll and General Manager Brad Meteor still report on both Castellini's. He said, I deal with Bob and Phil every day. There's nothing that changed, Kroll, who said this morning, and is at Team Spring Training Complex in Arizona. Nick Kroll said Phil Castellini was included in discussions about on-field decisions more than he had been in previously. This was what he was said. When there's a large decision, we're all going to talk about it anyway, Kroll said. I'll talk about it with Brad and Terry Francona and Doug and Phil and Bob, and just to make sure all the ducks are lined up in a row. So, you know, I'm sure the same thing's going to be given when it comes down to Phil. And I guess I ask myself this is as, a fan of the Cincinnati Reds, who, how involved do you want ownership to be? Do you want ownership to just hire a chain of command and say, all right, I hired you, you're going to run this team, and here's the budget, and that's it? And leave it up to the general managers and coaches to put this winning team together? Or do you prefer the owner, the person that oversees everything, to be hands-on and to be involved into decision makings, especially the big ones? How involved was the Castellinis when it came down to picking up Suarez this offseason or re-signing Emilio Pagan? And those things I take notes to. Preferably for me, I would prefer to watch a owner at least be involved, at least to overhear and see what's happening. I wouldn't, I know it would be their team and they make the final decisions, but I wouldn't want an ownership to be in full control the way I'm going to make all the final decisions, especially on these trades. But at least be able to have their input of how they feel like this team needs to operate out of. And then you give owners, the responsibility. Hey, after I give you my input, the GM, whoever you may be, yeah, go ahead and make what the best decision is. And that way you have something to go off of. If you need to fire a GM, they're making decisions for themselves and you're keeping yourself a distance. Um, look, this is a Reds team that is not changing in budget, is not changing this is not going to be a change in how they operate things. I think you may see some small minor changes, but this is not going to be very, whole effective to what we're seeing. We're not going to go see a big sellout, in my opinion. I don't think we're going to go see a courageous blockbuster deal or signing to, especially immediately off the bat. But, this is a new adjustment for Reds fans. And you may look at this as a good thing, as a bad thing, but this is still something that can be however you look at it, we just have to wait and see. We're just fresh off of it, and Not like I said, nothing's changing. I just think maybe the timing could be just a little bit off because, we're just a few days into spring training and I kind of want to just focus on baseball. I don't need to focus on what's going on in the front office unless a deal is being made. And to be honest, I feel like this could be a distraction, at least to fans, to say, "Oh, well, we have a new owner. What does this entail?" And who is Phil Castellini to the Reds, and how much different or how much similar is he to his father and Bill for all these years? So something to think about as we continue with our sports conversations. Before we do, I want to kind of give my praises to Enlightened Studios. We are officially 14 days away, 2 weeks away from their first production, Grassroots of 2026. It will be held on February 27th and will go on through March 8th at the Archville Theater in Cincinnati, Ohio. You get your tickets today by visiting tickettailor.com. You don't want to miss the production. It's a little cheaper online. They do sell tickets at the door, but if you want to save a few extra bucks, I encourage you to get your tickets online. Come out and support this community faith company of performing arts and support them. They are a great company. They're growing. They're home, the local, and they keep their roots very much intact. Grassroots is a play that not until after really honestly, we just thought about this a couple weeks ago, but this is honestly a production that fits perfectly in the month of February. We talk about Black History Month, and we just kind of recognize and notice it. It's about a black family who moves into an all-white neighborhood. Time settings back in the 1950s, and the truth comes out in the neighborhood where lawns are treaded on. Tensions rise as drama spills out, and it's a full emotional embarks on emotions. There's comedy aspects. There's um, spiritual aspects to this, and it's an engagement in the audience too, so you will be getting involved in this performance. They have a 1950s theme, so come dressed, come prepared, and get involved, with the theater. I think it's just a unique way overall. But Grassroots, get your tickets today. I also like to invite people to check out Light in the City. It's a podcast channel available on all audio platforms where Enlightened Studios has several different podcasts airing throughout the week, providing you news, updates, a little bit of history, lessons about the performing arts in the city of Cincinnati, and the impact it has risen to the local area. I have hosted and I host one of the podcast episodes called The Enlightened Experience. It drops every Monday at 5 p.m. My partner in the social media marketing team has also a weekly podcast. Her name is Brittany Brown, and I just encourage you to support us by heading on over, following our channel, listen to our podcast, let us know what you think, and also, while you're there, follow along with Enlightened Studios and their social media pages. They're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and just be a part of the community. It will mean a lot to us as we continue to grow moving forward. Alrighty. There was. How do I want to take this next segment? There was a report of how people are receiving and how is WrestleMania coming along. It is February 13th, 2026. We are officially on the road to WrestleMania. WrestleMania 42 is a 2-night event in Las Vegas at Allegiant Stadium. WrestleMania at the same location WrestleMania 41 was at. And it would be held on April 18th and 19th. Just want to point that out. So far, according to sources, WrestleMania has sold about 38,000 tickets per night. And according to reports, sales are trailing behind the previous year's pace at approximately 10,000 tickets per night. So this time last year, WrestleMania 41 had about 40,000 tickets. I'm going to say about 50,000 tickets per night. And the reason why I'm talking about this is because it opened up a discussion about marketing strategies and how to increase their attendance in April this year. It apparently news reported that WWE had to come back to the drawing boards because they are not satisfied with the turnout of WrestleMania and the ticket attending so far. And I'm just going to ask you guys this real quick. Where do you guys think that WrestleMania is it in good hands right now, or are they in some trouble with less than about 2 months away? You know, I think we're on this shift because this isn't the only year that we've heard or talked about WrestleMania's ticket performance early on. And especially since the pandemic, it has been more of a challenge. Total ticket distribution is about approximately, 75,433 as of early February. These figures represent ticket distributions, not necessarily final attendance. The current pace is notably behind the 56 to 60,000 tickets per night at this point last year. So, the reason why I bring this up, because I do feel like we could look at it in a few different ways. WrestleMania, what right now attracts you if you wanted to buy WrestleMania tickets? For me, I've never been to a WrestleMania before. I would love to go. So if I was to go buy WrestleMania tickets today, they would run, okay, would range roughly about $266 to about $9,000 per seat before fees. And that is a 2-day combination. And you know what? Yeah, if I was to go buy WrestleMania tickets, I don't really quite understand who would want to buy night 1 tickets but not night 2. I would honestly want to be there for both. But let's kind of look at the breakdown here for the 2-day ticket packages. This is face value before fees. The upper level, which they call nosebleeds, sit about $266 to $855. The 300 level sits about $1,200 per ticket. The 200 level, $1,200 to $1,300 or so. The 100 level, $1,200 to $1,500. Floor seats are about $2,200 in sections R101. Floor seats in section B are about $4,000. Floor seats section A to ringside is about $9,000. Elite VIP ringside, these packages are priced significantly higher, with some reports indicating top tier front row experiences costing between $35,000 and $70,000 per person for both nights. Suites, private areas, both nights range approximately about $22,000 to over $52,000. We have low sales, high prices. WWE is reporting facing lower than expected ticket sales for the event compared to previous years, but has not lowered prices, keeping them at high initial post TKO acquisition rates. Venues and dates: the event is scheduled for April 18th and 19th at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. The price listed above are based off of Ticketmaster, and fees can add a significant cost to these totals. As of February 2026, many two-day combos are available on resale sites, with some of the lowest 2 days going around $700 to $800. All right, so all that is just worth to be mentioned. So think about this. WWE WrestleMania can either cost you about $800 up to $9,000 per ticket per night. So if you want to bring two people, you at least spend two people for one night would cost about at least $1,000. And these are nosebleeds where you're really up high there in the bleachers. You're not going to see much of anything. You'll rely on the Titantrons to give you what the experience that you want to have. Now, on top of that, if you lived out here, okay, well, you're going to have to request time off of work. I know it's over the weekend. You're going to have to then book flight tickets, hotel tickets, and those aren't cheap. I am trying to understand why everything is expensive. I understand they got to make money, but I feel like this is, if you're not receiving a well reciprocation over this time, we're halfway through between the beginning of the year to now. You guys started selling tickets back in November, October maybe, and we're just sitting at not even 40,000 a night. And how many seats are available for WrestleMania? Mania 42. Let's just see. So, in mid-February, roughly 36 tickets have been distributed in Allegiant Stadium. One expected sales. Congrats for 65. So while the venue can hold over 65 to 70,000, current seats are configuring tickets still available in previous years. Okay, so the reason why I asked this, is it time for the WWE to lower their ticket prices heading into WrestleMania? Are they charging outrageous numbers in unprecedented times? And I understand that the company needs to make money, but there are other places that the company can make money on if they coordinate everything appropriately. I've mentioned here, I want to go to WrestleMania. I think it would be a great experience to go to WrestleMania. It is probably one of the things on my bucket list. But if I'm going to go to WrestleMania, don't get me wrong, I want a good seat. I don't just want to sit in the nosebleed seats. Okay, maybe I can't afford ringside seats, but I do want to have a good seat in the house to where I can at least clearly see the Titantron, or I can see the ring, because the moment is in the ring. The moment is being distributed on, on a stage platform. And if I can't see it, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not going to be invested into WrestleMania. There are a lot of things that go on around the stadium that holds value to be part of your experience. That includes, the kickoff show, the post show. You have, I don't know if the WWE does this anymore, but I remember they used to come into town and they'd set up a Hall of Fame kind of walkthrough and kind of this experience of a lifetime. That you also have SmackDown, which is usually held nearby, as long with Raw as well nearby. And so my point is that if you're investing, let's say, a couple $100 per seat per person just to get tickets to go to WrestleMania. So let's just say on average, a one ticket for me is $500. That's for me for one day. That's $1,000 for both nights. Then if I want to take anyone else with me, that's an extra $1,000 per person. Okay, so if I'm taking two people, that's $3,000. Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't have $3,000. The next thing to take a look at is travel expenses. I have to buy 3 plane tickets, not one, not two, but then 3, one per person, right? It has to be a round trip. Okay, I would have to come in on a Wednesday or if not even a Tuesday to help beat the traffic. Maybe I'll be able to push on a Thursday, but then I would have Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Am I really going to want to travel Monday? Do I stick around for Raw? Let's see how much, maybe get out, back out Tuesday. I got to make sure I have that time off. There is so much other things going on. It makes it very difficult when you already put $3,000 into 3 tickets. Then you got to find hotels. Is it one bedroom? Is it one room, 2 rooms, 3 rooms? How many beds are there? Is it a hotel? They're going to jack up prices. Vegas is an expensive place to live at. All right. Things are not cheap there. It's great for business. Don't get me wrong. But I'm sure they're also raising their prices knowing that the event's going to be filled. My point saying is that I feel like the WWE, I feel like TKO are putting it on themselves to be put in a position where they are seeing low numbers initially. Um, I would prefer to sell out a stadium at a cheaper cost than to raise tickets to make it almost impossible for fans to attend. I don't know about you. Saudi Arabia left a very bad taste in my mouth, but it is still, I don't want that to carry over back into the States. Camera angles are very deceiving. They're going to show you that they can do it without having, that they're going to have a full impact night, right? But I prefer sold out crowds, record breaking numbers, a packed stadium at a lower price than to have a smaller crowd for a more expensive cost. Because I want to if you're going to travel, especially to states and to areas that are way more expensive to be at, make it affordable. Make it reasonable for someone knowing that what all the extra money they're going to have to put in. My other suggestion is how well is this 2-night event going? And is it worth continuing, to be honest? The only promotion that the WWE has at the moment is that Roman Reigns is taking on CM Punk for the World Heavyweight Champion. And that's if CM Punk walks out of Elimination Chamber in Chicago still your champion, because he's about to be facing Finn Balor again as he still seeks a title run. Let's be real for a moment. Is this match enough right now, 8 weeks before WrestleMania? Is this match enough to carry fans and to sell tickets, plenty of tickets, behind to get a result that will be pleased by TKO or the WWE? It's time to start announcing matches. And it kind of just dawned on me getting into this segment that this is the reason why Roman Reigns announced that he will be challenging CM Punk for the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania, because it is a ticket seller. And that's what we need to do, right? Sell tickets. But we're 2 months away. Liv Morgan hasn't even revealed who she's going to face. We haven't even gotten to Elimination Chamber. And I feel like each and every year we are going to go through the same story, the same issues, and the same problems, all because of ticket prices being high and because you have, how do I best put this? You only have one match right now on the card. Now, the other thing is, too, to just keep into consideration, I'll top it off on here and get to my final segment of the night, is that tax returns. People are just filing their taxes. People take a little bit longer filing their taxes. And so fans are going to wait and push as long as they can to see if tickets do drop. They're going to wait until taxes come, and a lot of times that's what they use it on. Because trust me, I don't make that money in overnight. Come on. But what is your opinion on how WrestleMania 42 is being received when it comes to ticket prices, attendance so far, and the match card that is set to be on 2 nights of the event? Well, SmackDown is going to be live tonight on SIFY. Due to the Olympics, and they have their contract negotiations being on USA Network, that's fine by me, for the next 2 weeks. Tonight and next Friday, SmackDown will be aired on SIFY, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, as they are advertising another qualifying match for the Men's Elimination Chamber, as Cody Rhodes will take on Jacob Fatu and Sami Zayn in a qualifying match on tonight's episode. And we will also see Alexa Bliss take on Zelina for the Women's Elimination Chamber in a triple threat match. Jade Cargill will defend her WWE Women's Championship against Jordynne Grace. Rio defends the WWE Women's Tag Team titles, Rhea Ripley and Io Sky, against Nia Jax and Lash Legend. And Ray Phoenix will take on Trick Williams in singles competition. You know, what's going to be interesting is to see who does qualify for the Men's Elimination Chamber. Sami Zayn's kind of like this odd man out in this triple threat match. Cody Rhodes and Jacob Fatu has been dealing with some controversy issues since Jacob's return, costing Cody the WWE Championship earlier this year. And since then, it's kind of been back and forth. Now, on the other hand, keep in mind that Drew McIntyre is still yet determined to cost Cody Rhodes every opportunity moving forward. So, with that in the back mind, you have Sami Zayn, who's part of this match. He's never captured the World Championship before. He's always came up short. Drew McIntyre is kind of like that in hindsight. Knowing that we have Roman and Punk heading to WrestleMania, it almost indicates to me that we will see a SmackDown brand winner. Is that Randy Orton so far, or could that be Sami Zayn? And I know this is a crazy story, but bear with me. I would like to see, over the past couple years, Sami Zayn has had WrestleMania moments after moments on the road to WrestleMania. He's taken on Roman Reigns. He's taken on Kevin Owens. He's had, tag team title success at WrestleMania in main eventing with Kevin Owens to take on the Usos and beating them. Could this lead up to a moment where, Sami Zayn has always been held back thanks to the hands of Drew McIntyre? We just saw Drew McIntyre at the Rumble annihilate Sami Zayn. Now, I don't know if this is going to be a top tier match, in my opinion, but what if we saw Sami Zayn win this qualifying match, go on to Elimination Chamber and win the Elimination Chamber, challenge Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship, and go on and have another WrestleMania moment by beating Drew and becoming the new WWE's champion? It wouldn't be unethical. It kind of really shakes a lot of things up in this sport. It gives a lot and kind of tops off to what a storyline could be built between Drew and Sammy. And that, to me, I would honestly, I mean, like you said, it's not a main event in my opinion, but I still think it's a top tier line, a match on a card that I'd be interested in seeing. Maybe it would open up night 1 or night 2, but whatever the case may be, that would be, in my opinion, an interesting thought. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments if you guys agree with that. You also have the Women's United States Champion Julia take on Alexa Bliss and Zelina as they collide heading into the Elimination Chamber. I'm honestly rooting for Alexa Bliss. I love, since she's returned, the type of talent that she's brought to the table. And I think this is a main event match. Jade Cargill, Jordan Grace. It's almost like you don't know who's going to win, but this is power on power. This is AEW versus TNA. This is top weight women's division wrestling that we will see tonight. And, keep in mind that you have Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez kind of in this hindsight, because Liv Morgan is still scoping out who she's going to challenge at WrestleMania, and then hopefully to get Raquel Rodriguez some sort of championship match to get her a title so that Liv can kind of focus on herself. So with this, it's a great one-on-one match, but the twist is now you have Liv and Raquel kind of being pricks and at the thorns of the sides. I'd even throw in Roxanne Perez. But SmackDown's going to be a good episode tonight. There's a lot of the different perspectives. I want to hear what you guys have to say, so please let me know in the comments below. But that is all the time I have for you guys today. You guys can follow us on our social media pages. We are on Facebook. We are on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Like, share, and subscribe to us on our YouTube page. And don't forget to follow us on our audio platforms. We are on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Spreaker. Anywhere you get your audio podcast, we are on there. If we're not on there, let us know. We'll get on there. We will return Monday with a new episode. We will recap SmackDown, getting you guys ready for Raw. We are just days away, a week away from spring training games in Major League Baseball. I'm excited. You should be excited. Enjoy some college baseball today if you're watching the Olympics. That's still going on. There's a lot going on in the world of sports this weekend, college basketball and all that fun stuff. So until next Monday, you guys have a wonderful and happy Valentine's Day weekend, and we will see you back Monday and talk with more sports. You guys take care. Have a great weekend.